Namaste Narasingaya. Prahlada Hiranyakashipu Rakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Nishinga Bharato Nisingo Yato Yato Yamitato Nishingha Bahir Nishingo Hidaye Nisingo Nisingamadim Sharanam Prapadye Kavakara Kamala Bare Nakam Atuta Sringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Danu Bringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nishingadev 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 Jaya Nishingadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jai
So this chapter 55, that's the story of the Shamataka jewel. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshama. Krishna, 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 Pahima. Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshama. Krishna, Kesava, Krishna, Kesava, Krishna, Kesava, Pahima.
Yours.
And we got to the 474, I think. He'd come there to ask for the jewel in order to be free from this defamation. Jambavan understood the whole situation, and to satisfy the Lord, he immediately delivered not only the Shamataka jewel, but also his daughter, Jambavati, who was of marriageable age, and presented her to Lord Krishna. The episode of Jambavati's marriage with Krishna and the delivery of the Shamataka, of the jewel known as Shamataka, was finished within the mountain cave. Although the fighting between Krishna and Jambavan went on for 28 days, the inhabitants of Dwarka waited outside the tunnel for 12 days, and after that they decided that something undesirable must have happened. They could not understand for certain what had actually happened, and being very sorry and tired, they returned to the city of Dwarka. All the members of the family, namely Krishna's mother Devaki, his father Vasudeva, and his chief wife Rukmini, along with all the other friends, relatives and residents of the palace, were very sorry when the citizens returned home without Krishna. Because of their natural affection for Krishna, they began to call Satyajit ill names, for he was the cause of Krishna's disappearance. They went to worship the goddess Chandrabhaga, praying for the return of Krishna. The goddess was satisfied by the prayers of the citizens of Dwarka, and she immediately offered them her benediction. Simultaneously, Krishna appeared on the scene accompanied by his new wife Jambavati, and all the inhabitants of Dwarka and relatives of Krishna became joyful. The inhabitants of Dwarka were as joyful as someone receiving a dear relative back from the dead. They had concluded that Krishna had been put into great difficulties due to the fighting, and therefore they had become almost hopeless of his return. But when they saw that Krishna had actually returned, not alone but with a new wife, Jambavati, they immediately performed another ceremony of celebration. King Ugrasena then called for a meeting of all important kings and chiefs. He also invited Satyajit, and Krishna explained before the whole assembly the incident of the recovery of the jewel from Jambavan. Krishna wanted to return the valuable jewel to King Satyajit. Satyajit, however, was ashamed because he had unnecessarily defamed Krishna. He accepted the jewel in his hand, but he remained silent, bending his head downwards, and without saying anything in the assembly of the kings and chiefs, he returned home with the jewel. Then he thought about how he could clear himself of the abominable act.
Of the abominable act he had performed by defaming Krishna. He was conscious that he had offended Krishna very grievously, and that he had to find a remedial measure so that Krishna would again be pleased with him. King Satyajit was eager to get relief from the anxiety he had foolishly created due to being attracted by a material thing, specifically the Jamantaka jewel. Truly afflicted by the offense he had committed against Krishna, he sincerely wanted to rectify it. From within, Krishna gave him good intelligence, and Satyajit decided to hand over to Krishna both the jewel and his beautiful daughter Satyabhama. There was no alternative for mitigating the situation, and therefore he arranged the marriage ceremony of Krishna and his daughter. He gave in charity both the jewel and his daughter to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Satyabhama was so beautiful and qualified that Satyajit, in spite of being asked for her hand by many princes, was waiting to find a suitable son-in-law. By the grace of Krishna, he decided to hand his daughter over to him. Lord Krishna, being pleased with Satyajit, informed him that he did not have any need of the Syamataka jewel. It is better to let it remain in the temple as you have kept it, he said, and every one of us will derive benefit from the jewel. Because of the jewel's presence in the city of Dwarka, there will be no more famines or disturbances created by pestilence or excessive heat and cold. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 55th chapter of Krishna, the story of the Shamantaka jewel.
Continuing reading, chapter 56, the killing of Satyajit at Shatandanva. After Akrura visited Hastinapur and reported the condition of the Pandavas to Krishna, there were further developments. Pandavas were transferred to a house which was made of shellac and was later set ablaze, and everyone understood that the Pandavas, along with their mother Kunti, had been killed. This information was also sent to Lord Krishna and Balaram. After consulting together, they decided to go to Hastinapur to show sympathy to their relatives. Krishna and Balaram certainly knew that the Pandavas could not have been killed in a devastating fire, but in spite of this knowledge, they wanted to go to Hastinapur to take part in the bereavement. On arriving in Hastinapur, Krishna and Balaram first went to see Bhishmadev because he was the chief of the Kuru dynasty. They then saw Kripacharya, Vidura, Gandhari and Drona. Other members of the Kuru dynasty were not sorry because they wanted the Pandavas and their mothers to be killed. But some family members, headed by Bhishma, were actually very sorry for the incident, and Krishna and Balaram expressed equal sorrow without disclosing the actual situation. When Krishna and Balaram were away from the city of Dwarka, there was a conspiracy to take the Shamataka jewel away from Shatrajit. The chief conspirator was Shatandhanva, who was among those who wanted to marry Satyabhama, Shatrajit's beautiful daughter. Satyajit had promised that he would give his beautiful daughter in charity to various candidates, but later the decision
was changed. And Satyabhama was given to Krishna along with the Shamataka jewel. Satyajit had no desire to give the jewel away with his daughter, and Krishna, knowing his mentality, accepted his daughter but returned the jewel. After getting back the jewel from Krishna, he was satisfied and kept it with him always. But in the absence of Krishna and Balaram, there was a conspiracy by many men, including even Akrura and Kritavarma, who were devotees of Lord Krishna, to take the jewel from Satyajit. Akrura and Kritavarma joined the conspiracy because they wanted the jewel for Krishna. They knew that Krishna wanted the jewel and that Satyajit had not delivered it properly. Others joined the conspiracy because they were disappointed in not having the hand of Satyabhama. Some of them incited Sandadhanva to kill Satyajit and take away the jewel. The question is generally raised, why did a great devotee like Akrura join this conspiracy? And why did Kritavarma, although a devotee of the Lord, join the conspiracy also? The answer given by great authorities like Jiva Goswami is that although Akrura was a great devotee, he was cursed by the inhabitants of Vrindavan because of his taking Krishna away from their midst. Because of wounding their feelings, Akrura was forced to join this conspiracy declared by sinful men. Similarly, Kritavarma was a devotee, but because of his intimate association with Kamsa, he was contaminated by sinful reaction, and he also joined the conspiracy. Being inspired by all the members of the conspiracy, Satyabhama one night entered the house of Satyajit and killed him while he was sleeping. Sandadhanva was a sinful man of abominable character, and although due to his sinful activities he was not to live for many days, he decided to kill Satyajit while Satyajit was sleeping at home. When he entered the house to kill Satyajit, all the women there cried very loudly, but in spite of their great protests, Satyabhama mercilessly butchered Satyajit without hesitation, exactly as a butcher kills an animal in the slaughterhouse. Since Krishna was absent from home, his wife Satyabhama was also present on the night Satyajit was murdered, and she began to cry, my dear father, how mercilessly you have been killed." The dead body of Satyajit was not immediately removed for cremation because Satyabhama wanted to go to Krishna in Hastinapur. Therefore, the body was preserved in a tank of oil so that Krishna could come back and see the dead body of Satyajit and take real action against Satyabhama. Satyabhama immediately started for Hastinapur.
To inform Krishna about the ghastly death of her father. When Krishna was informed by Satyabhama of the murder of his father-in-law, he began to lament like an ordinary man. His great sorrow is, again, a strange thing. Lord Krishna has nothing to do with action and reaction, but because he was playing the part of a human being, he expressed his full sympathy for the bereavement of Satyabhama, and his eyes filled with tears when he heard about the death of his father-in-law. He thus began to lament, "Oh, what unhappy incidents have taken place!" In this way, both Krishna and Balaram, along with Satyabhama, the wife of Krishna, immediately returned to Dwaraka and began to make plans to kill Shatadhanva and take away the jewel. Although he was a great outlaw in the city, Shatadhanva was still very much afraid of Krishna's power, and thus When Krishna arrived, he became most afraid. Understanding Krishna's plan to kill him, he immediately went to take shelter of Kritavarma. But Kritavarma said, I shall never be able to offend Lord Krishna and Balaram, for they are not ordinary persons. They are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can be saved from the death if he has who can be saved from death if he has offended Balaram and Krishna. No one can be saved from their wrath. Kritavarma further said that Kamsa, although powerful and assisted by many demons, could not be saved from Krishna's wrath, and what to speak of Jarasandha, who had been defeated by Krishna 18 times, and each time had to return from the fighting in disappointment. When Shatathanva was refused help by Kritavarma, he went to Akrura and implored him to help. But Akrura also replied, both Balaram and Krishna are themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and anyone who knows their unlimited strength would never dare offend them or fight with them. He further informed Shatathanva, Krishna and Balaram are so powerful that simply by willing, they create, maintain, and dissolve the whole cosmic manifestation. Unfortunately, persons bewildered by the illusory energy cannot understand the strength of Krishna, although the whole cosmic manifestation is fully under his control. He cited as an example that Krishna, even at the age of 7 years, had lifted Govardhan hill and had continued to hold up the mountain for 7 days, exactly as a child carries a small umbrella. Akrura plainly informed Shatathanva that he would always offer
his most respectful obeisances to Krishna, the supersoul of everything created and the original cause of all causes. When Akrura also refused to give him shelter, Shatathanva decided to deliver to the hands of Akrura the Shamantaka jewel. Then, riding on a horse which could run at great speed and up to 400 miles at a stretch, he fled the city. When Krishna and Balaram were informed of the flight of Shatathanva, they mounted their chariot, its flag marked by a picture of Garuda, and followed immediately. Krishna was particularly angry with Shatathanva and wanted to kill him because he had killed Shatrajit, a superior personality. Shatrajit happened to be the father-in-law of Krishna, and it's the injunction of the Shastras that one who has rebelled against a superior person or Guru Duha must be punished in proportion to the severity of the offense. Because Shatathanva had killed his father-in-law, Krishna was determined to kill him by any means. Shatathanva's horse became exhausted and died near a garden house in Mithila. Unable to take help of the horse, Shatathanva began to run with great speed. In order to be fair to Shatathanva, Krishna and Balaram also left their chariot and began to follow Shatathanva on foot. While both Shatathanva and Krishna were running, Krishna took his disc and cut off Shatathanva's head. After Shatathanva was killed, Krishna searched through his clothing for the Shamantaka jewel, but he could not find it. He then returned to Balaram and said, "We have killed this person uselessly, for the jewel is not to be found on his body." Sri Balaram suggested, "The jewel might have been kept in the custody of another man in Dwarka, so you would better return and search it out." Sri Balaram expressed his desire to remain in Mithila city for some days because he enjoyed an intimate friendship with the king. Therefore, Krishna returned to Dwarka and Balaram entered the city of Mithila. When the king of Mithila saw the arrival of Sri Balaram in his city, he was most pleased and received the Lord with great honor and hospitality. He gave many valuable presents to Balaramji in order to seek his pleasure. At this time, Sri Balaram lived in the city for several years as the honored guest of the king of Mithila, Janak Maharaj. During this time, Duryodhana, the eldest son of Dhritarashtra, took the opportunity to come to Balaram and learn from him the art of fighting with a club.
After killing Satyadanva, Krishna returned to Dwarka and in order to please his wife Satyabhama, informed her of the death of Satyadhanva, the killer of her father. But he also informed her that the jewel had not been found in his possession. Then, according to religious principles, Krishna, along with Satyabhama, performed ceremonies in honor of his departed father-in-law. In those ceremonies, all the friends and relatives of the family joined together. Akrura and Krishnavama, who were prominent members in the conspiracy to kill Satyajit, had incited Satyadharma to kill him. But when they heard of the death of Satyadharma at Krishna's hands, and when they heard that also Krishna had returned to Dwarka, they both immediately left Dwarka. The citizens of Dwarka felt themselves threatened with pestilence and natural disturbances due to the absence of Akrura from the city. This was a kind of superstition because while Lord Krishna was present, there could not be any pestilence, famine or natural disturbances. But in the absence of Akrura, there were apparently some disturbances in Dwarka. Once in the province of Kasi, within the barricade of Varanasi, there was a severe drought and practically no rainfall. At that time, the king of Kasi arranged for the marriage of his daughter, known as Gandhini, with Salpaka, the father of Akrura. This was done by the king of Kasi on advice of an astrologer. And actually, it so happened that after the marriage of the king's daughter with Salpaka, there was sufficient rainfall in the province. Due to this supernatural power of Salpaka, his son Akrura was also considered equally powerful, and people were under the impression that wherever Akrura or his father stayed, there could be no natural disturbance, famine or drought. That kingdom is considered happy where there is no famine, pestilence or excessive heat and cold, and where people are happy mentally, spiritually and physically. As soon as there is some disturbance, people consider the cause to be the absence of an auspicious personality in the city. Thus there was a rumour that because of the absence of Akrura, inauspicious things were happening. After the departure of Akrura, some of the elderly members of the town also began to perceive inauspicious signs due to the absence of the Shamataka jewel. When Lord Krishna heard these rumours spread by the people, he decided to summon Akrura from the kingdom of Kasi. Akrura was Krishna's uncle, and therefore when
he came back to Dwarka, Lord Krishna first of all gave him a welcome befitting a superior person. Krishna is the super soul in everyone and knows everything going on in everyone's heart. He knows everything that had happened in connection with Akrura's conspiracy with Shatatanva. Therefore, he smilingly began to speak to Akrura. Addressing him as the chief among munificent men, Krishna said, "My dear uncle, it is already known to me that the Shamataka jewel was left by Shatatanva with you. Presently, there is no direct claimant on the Shamataka jewel, for King Satrajit has no male issue. His daughter, Satyabhama, is not very anxious for this jewel. Yet her expected son, a grandson of Satrajit, would, after performing the regulated principles of inheritance, be the legal claimant of the jewel." Lord Krishna indicated by this statement that Satyabhama was already pregnant and had her son would be the real claimant for the jewel and would certainly take the jewel from him. Krishna continued, "This jewel is so powerful that no ordinary man is able to keep it. I know that you are very pious in activities, so there is no objection to the jewels being kept with you. There is one difficulty, and that is that my elder brother, Sri Balaram, does not believe my version that the jewel is with you. I therefore request you, O large-hearted one, to show me the jewel before my other relatives, so that they may be pacified from different kinds of rumors. You cannot deny that the jewel is with you, because we can understand that you have enhanced your opulence and are performing sacrifices on an altar made of solid gold. The properties of the jewel are known. Wherever the jewel remained, it would produce for the keeper almost 9 mounds of pure gold daily. Akrura was getting gold in that proportion and distributing it profusely at sacrificial performances. Lord Krishna cited Akrura's lavishly spending gold as positive evidence of his possessing the Shamataka jewel. When Lord Krishna, in friendly terms and sweet language, impressed Akrura upon the real fact, and Akrura understood that nothing could be concealed from the knowledge of Sri Krishna, he brought the valuable jewel, covered by cloth, but shining like the sun, and presented it before Krishna. Lord Krishna took the Shamataka jewel in his hand and showed it to all his relatives and friends present, and then returned the jewel to Akrura in their presence.
In their presence, so that they would know that the jewel was actually being kept by Akrura in Dwarka city. This story of the Shamataka jewel is very significant. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that anyone who hears the story of the Shamataka jewel, or describes it, or simply remembers it, will be freed from all kinds of defamation and the reactions of all impious activities, and thus will attain the highest perfection condition of peace. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 56th chapter of Krishna, the killing of Satrajit and Shatandanva. That's it for today. Continue tomorrow, live from 83 Medieval Street. Hare Krishna.
Dublin County, Ireland.
Dublin County.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.